All right, hey guys, welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to be reviewing the new 2021 Mark 7.5 Golf GTI. This is the final year for the Mark 7.5 generation. Of course, next on we have the Mark 8. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys what to expect with this Mark 7.5 and honestly give you guys my honest opinion if you should just upgrade to the Mark 8 and just wait, I believe, until later 2021 when we're pretty much expecting those to hit US market. So, of course, 2021 Mark 7.5 GTI. This car is finished in pure white, and I say it's a beautiful, beautiful color. It really stands out. Of course, being a GTI, you have that red pinstriping, and I personally believe GTIs look really, really great with the red pinstriping onto the white. White and red just looks really nice, and it stands out really, really nicely. It's not I wouldn't say it's necessarily a subtle thing. This definitely does look like a sporty car, but of course, it's a GTI. What are you going to expect? This car is an Autobahn trim, so you pretty much get a fully loaded car. This comes with dynamic chassis control, which is your adjustable suspension, your VAQ, limited slip diff, and your XDS cross differential system. So you best believe it, it's a really great handling vehicle. Now, another thing I also want to point out, as you guys can see, is we have these nice 18-inch wheels wrapped around with summer performance tires. I can't remember the last time I've seen a GTI wrapped in summer performance tires from a dealer, so it's really cool. These I believe they're Potenza tires, so a very reputable tire and definitely a very grippy tire. Of course, we have our performance package brakes as well. I have the same exact brakes in my Golf R, and in a car that probably weighs maybe 200 to 300 pounds lighter, roughly. I'd probably say maybe 200. It's really gonna stop on a dime. So as far as styling goes, not much has changed for this last year of the Mark 7.5. Of course, we have our integrated fog lights right there, and as you guys can see, these beautiful DRLs that can, the ambers are also integrated as well. So very, very nice touches. With this 2.0, expect just under 230 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. Believe me when I say this, I've had a GTI before, and that's plenty of power, especially for this type of car. It's something that is really nice, and if you do want to wake it up, you can of course go with the aftermarket, and there's a lot of support for this type of vehicle. Kind of as we're going along the side of the car, as you guys can see, we have our nice gloss black mirrors with a huge panoramic sunroof. Again, I really like sort of the contrast that's going here. I personally believe my spec would probably be the 18-inch Pretorias, because I love Pretorias. I have one on my Golf R, but I'm not going to diss these wheels. These are really nice wheels, and you're not going to find them on many other cars because I believe these are only offered for the 2021 models. Now, walking along the side, we have our traditional GTI side skirt, and kind of as we're going towards the back, again, traditional Mark 7.5, huge chrome tailpipes that really, really stand out and honestly sound nice as well. And of course, another thing I also want to point out for this specific model is we have our Vmax spoiler. That's something I was never offered prior to the facelift, and it kind of does exaggerate the rear of this car, and I like it. It looks really nice. Of course, you really can't see it that well because there is packaging. It does look really nice, obviously, when it's unpackaged. We'll open up the rear. Plenty of space. Of course, as you guys know, you can fold the seats flat or almost flat enough, I would say, you can store a lot of stuff. Of course, we have our monster mats, and right below we have our Fender subwoofer and the spare tire and all the jack equipment, which is nice to have. All right, so just before we jump right into the front of the car, we'll sit in the back. Of course, the seat is at my preferred driving position, and I'm 6 foot. Plenty of legroom, as you guys can see, and it's very comfortable, very supportive. If you want cup holders, this little pass-through, fold it once and then fold it twice if you just want to send skis right through or anything long. Again, very accommodating and nice to have. Also an air vent as well, and pockets that are they are lined, and it's a very comfortable place to be. All right, so now we'll jump right into the front of the car. As you guys can see, greeted with just Titan black interior. Being the Autobahn, you're not going to get those sporty S seats, or the cloth seats that is with the Clark Plaid, but these Titan black seats are really, really nice. They're obviously the higher spec ones, and they're very comfortable, and I've had it in both my cars and I like it. So we have our red striping that goes right through, our red stitching, and we have a red strip LED for at night, so you can really illuminate the inside of your cabin nicely. We'll jump right into the car. The first thing you're going to notice every single time you sit in a GTI is how supportive these seats are, but to the point where it's not uncomfortable, and that's one thing I really, really like. Another thing I also want to point out is how nice these steering wheels are. Again, I wish they were just a little bit thicker, but as far as shape-wise goes, the flat bottom is really nice. We'll start it right up, foot on brake, and press the button, and then it roars right to life. Very, very nice. Of course, we have our paddle shifters on the back, and yeah, traditional GTI gauges, pretty much everything you'd expect from, you know, from a GTI. Of course, these cars were never blessed with the virtual cockpit, but I can't complain because these gauges are very, very nice, and they're just as informative as the virtual cockpit. Of course, analog gauges, you really can't complain. They're really nice. Sort of looking around the interior, we have an 8-inch touchscreen. This is nice. I have this in my Golf R, and I really, really like it. It's easy, it's quick, it's responsive. You know, it's nice. You really can't see any pixels. It's clear, and that's something I really like about it. Of course, right in the center of the gauges, we have pretty much all our vehicle data. We can scroll through a lot of things, but typically what I drive with is driving data. This car does have the adaptive, you know, adaptive cruise control, and that's something really nice. So you can pretty much change everything through here. Your blind spot monitoring on the mirrors, and your lane keep assist, so the car will kind of maintain its lane. It's really, really nice to have. So yeah, I really do like it. So traditionally, like I said, I drive with the driving data, and let's just put it on, we'll put on oil temperature, why not? And so yeah, onto the 8-inch touchscreen. So if we go to car, I have to turn this on. Really responsive, as you guys can see. But if we tap car, we go to selection, driving data, we can scroll through all of our MPGs, see how well the car is doing. I don't see any sport pages like prior. I don't see any boost gauges, so I don't know if that's necessarily offered. This looks like it's a newer version of whatever's in my car, simply because it's just a little bit more responsive and quick. Of course, we have our traditional main menu, and you can tweak everything with this car, which is nice. So if I go to sound, you can change the Fender audio, increase your bass, and your navigation, of course, is really nice as well. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I'm gonna definitely say this is a different system from what's in my Golf R. Same screen, but it might be probably MIB 3, I believe, and I might have 2. I'm not necessarily sure, but I can just tell you it's a lot more responsive, and I like that. Yeah, and then you, of course, you go to your media, and you can Bluetooth. So that is pretty much everything with the 8-inch touchscreen. Of course, wrapped around, we have this gloss black trim, if I haven't mentioned that yet. Now we'll go to our driving mode. So pretty much everything adjustable. We'll just go to our custom setting, and I'll show you everything. We have, well, actually, we'll just go to mode. So if we go to mode, we can click this right here: Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, and Custom. And if we go to adjust, these are all the things that we can just fine tune. If we want our dynamic chassis control, which is our suspension, we can put in Comfort, Normal, or Sport. And as you'd expect, Sport's going to be ride a little bit more rough, but of course maintain its corner and be really well balanced around corners. Steering, of course, that's your steering dampening. Your front diff lock, this will pretty much just decide how much power is going to each wheel, and your drivetrain and everything. So that's, of course, you probably want to leave that in eco if you're not trying to consume a lot of gas, but in my car, I just love leaving everything in race mode, because why not? But yeah, that's pretty much everything about the interior of this car. As you guys can see, the Golf R is right there. And yeah, so I think what we need to do right now is I think we need to take this on a quick spin, and I'll show you guys everything there is when it comes to driving the GTI. All right, so setting off in the 2021 Mark 7.5 GTI. First things first, this thing rides really nicely. Of course, it's on the 18-inch wheels, not the harsh 19-inch that my R has. So already it just rides really smoothly. And of course, I'm in comfort mode, so I can fine-tune that. I can change that once I go into sport mode. But for now, we'll take a nice little cruise, let the car warm up a little bit, because it really hasn't been driven that much. But yeah, as you guys can see, I mean, you really don't hear any road noise at all. It is on summer tires, but it's very composed. It really is. See how it takes these little bumps. Again, really, really comfortable. You don't really feel much. And I mean, it is on in an 18-inch wheel. That's not necessarily a small wheel, so I mean, it soaks up bumps really nicely, and that's a lot thanks to the dynamic chassis control that this car is optioned with. One thing to also mention with this car is does come with the 7-speed DSG. That's of course my tester for today, and I am very familiar with the 7-speed because I've driven the GLI with it, and of course my Golf R has the 7-speed. So it's a really nice gearbox. I know a lot of people, you know, have mixed feelings with the GTI and the 7-speed, but I think with enough seat time, you'll really understand that it is not a bad transmission, and it's in my opinion, I think a little bit better than the 6-speed. It's just a little bit more smooth out. You don't get that awkward bogging that the GTI from prior had with the 6-speed. So that's just something to note. So I guess now that we're on this sort of twisty road, what we'll do is we'll put the car into sport mode, and of course it jumps right out. We say sport mode, and our oil temperature is at a very nice place. So I think it's time to actually enjoy the car. So this sport mode is something that it's just so different from my 2015 GTI. I can already feel the drivetrain feels different. Right as I kind of get on the throttle, it's a lot more responsive, and as I let off, it pretty much just cuts it. It's really, really nice. This car does have pumped-in audio, but I can't complain. It doesn't sound bad, and it's not super intrusive. Very, very responsive, and as I can feel just with the dynamic chassis control in its sport setting, the car is riding a little bit more firm, but it's still drivable. It's not beating me up by any means. It's really driving nicely. Yeah, this thing it's quite a hoot. The steering feels really nice. Everything just fits the car really nicely. I'm a big fan of what they did with this last generation GTI. Just sounds so darn good. All right, here's our turnaround point. Let's see how we're doing. Nobody coming. Let's test out a little bit of an acceleration. We won't do any launch control, but wow. It's not unbelievably quick, I'm not going to lie. However, I will say, as first gear was a little bit slow. That was the car pretty much just hooking. It was cutting power, and I can tell just from the differential, it just was this focus on just getting out of first gear and obviously bringing me to second. Once I got into second, it started accelerating a lot harder, and then third, same. This thing has a lot of top end, and once you of course get out of that, every front wheel drive car's nightmare is pretty much first gear. Once you get out of that first gear and you get into second gear and third gear, you're pretty much safe. So this thing is a hoot to drive. I'm really enjoying it. Of course, and I have a Golf R, so everyone's like, why buy the GTI when you can just buy the Golf R? And in my opinion, the GTI is really darn good. It's definitely not something that you should sleep on. It's a it's a well packaged car, and especially with this trim and this the spec and all the options, of course, included with the Autobahn, you kind of can't go wrong. All of this packaged into one car is really nice, and I'm enjoying it. It really is a nice car. Of course, gas mileage, probably a lot of people are wondering how that is. I will say with my 6-speed with, not as much eco tech that this one has, I was looking around probably 34 on the highway and in town around 27. Of course, Volkswagen numbers are a lot lower than that, but in my personal experience with my GTI, that was around what I was getting, and of course that's babying it. Of course, you know, you have a GTI, are you always going to be babying it? Probably not, but it's just something good to know if you do want to, of course, just go on a long journey and not necessarily worry about spending a lot on gas. Speaking about gas, these cars are always going to be required to take premium. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts. So now a lot of people are probably wondering, now that I've driven the GLI, the modern GLI, and of course the modern GTI, a lot of people are probably wondering how would I, you know, compare the two. And they definitely both drive a lot different from each other. And you know, I like the GLI a lot. I really do. I think everything's placed nicely inside the car. However, you know, my mean potatoes, I've always loved hot hatches. They look great. And this one, just, you know, the feeling of being in a hatchback again, it's just super nice, or at least a GTI again. It's really, really nice. And, you know, there's a reason why a lot of people like the hatchback over the sedan, and, you know, vice versa. You know, everyone kind of has their own interests. And in my opinion, I just really do like the hot hatch. Again, the throttle is very, very responsive. It's a really great place to be. This car is super nice, and you know, I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to be driving it. Another thing I want to mention too that kind of also came to my mind is the fact that we have the option with Home Link, so we can I think do 3 different garage doors down here. This is frameless too on the mirror, and we have a compass integrated, which is so cool. I mean, it really, really looks nice. One thing we'll do for the heck of it is we'll open the sunroof, because one thing my Golf R does not have is a sunroof, and I miss it. I really do. You know, my philosophy was, you know, one less thing to break, but I never had an issue with my sunroof, and I do miss having a sunroof. It's quite a treat. We'll do one more pull. Of course, with sunroof open, maybe we'll get a little bit more actual exhaust noise. Oh, there's that thrust. It's fast. This thing is no slouch, I can tell you that. We'll close the sunroof. The paddle shifters, again, small but effective. Of course, they do the job. At some point, hopefully Volkswagen will really look into doing a really sporty paddle shifter, but I can't complain because, again, I've had these paddle shifters in my GTI and the R, and they get the job done. They really do. And with the 7-speed, very responsive. It doesn't lug, it doesn't bog. It's a really good transmission. We'll see how sport mode attacks those bumps. Not bad. Pretty much what you'd expect. Just a little bit more stiff than your traditional comfort mode. So what we'll do right now is we'll put it back into comfort mode, because we got some bumps ahead. As much as I trust sport mode, another thing I also want to mention is the feeling of just steering just a lighter car, and especially just the GTI again. Steering is really direct in this car. As we're driving around, I do want to give Seacoast Volkswagen a huge thank you for allowing me to come out and review their vehicle. This car is, of course, for sale, as all are, and definitely check it out, because it's quite a spec. I will say this gets the New England Pete approval rating. It's a great package, and I've always loved GTIs, as you guys know. I've owned one. All right, so as far as how much this car costs, it's just under 40K, and for pretty much everything that you're getting, you can't go wrong. It's such a great package, and honestly, it's something that I would consider. You know, if I didn't have a GTI, if I didn't have a Golf R prior, I would totally consider buying one of these. It's a great value. You have to really consider what are the cars out nowadays that can compete with this, and there's really not many. So definitely worth it. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I want to again thank Seacoast Volkswagen in Greenland, New Hampshire for allowing me to come out to film it. All right, so without further ado, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.